There's a very powerful and important chemical called atropine, which is used in the medical world, but sometimes it can also cause serious poisoning. Did you know that just 100 seeds from the Datura plant can contain up to 6 milligrams of atropine? That means a single seed isn't deadly, but 100 of them can really do some damage. Now imagine a careless cook accidentally adds a leaf from this plant to their potato stew, and 6 people end up hospitalized. Today, we're going to uncover the secrets of the incredibly dangerous, yet fascinating, Datura plant together. So stay with me until the end of this video. Alright, first let's talk a bit about the nightshade family, scientifically known as Solanaceae, which is also referred to as the potato family. First off, why is it called nightshade? It's probably because of the mysterious and nocturnal nature of some of its species. For example, some like belladonna were used in the past as nighttime anesthetics or sleep aids. On the other hand, since many plants in this family prefer shade, that is, they grow well in the shade or at night, they're called nightshade or literally shade of the night. This family is one of the most important and at the same time most mysterious plant families in the world, with over 2,700 species. It includes both edible plants like tomatoes, potatoes, bell peppers, and eggplants, as well as extremely poisonous plants like Datura and Belladonna. I mean, aside from the plants we cultivate and get all sorts of delicious things from, this family has a lot of other species, many of which are actually not good for the body at all. But even with tomatoes, eggplants, and potatoes, some parts of their plants are poisonous. For example, if you eat potato leaves or even tomato and eggplant leaves, they might make you feel sick. They might not kill you, but you definitely won't feel good, especially if you eat a large amount of them. But the parts of the plant that we actually eat, like the eggplant itself, tomatoes, or potato tubers, are fine and safe to eat. Anyway, putting that aside, today we want to get to know one of the poisonous plants from the nightshade family together, which might just randomly grow in your garden or yard, and that is none other than the Datura plant. Datura is a poisonous plant, although nothing happens if you just touch it. But if it's ingested, it can be very dangerous. This plant also goes by various names, such as Jimson weed, hell's bell, moonflower, thorn apple, and devil's trumpet. The Datura plant has different varieties, for example, Datura stramonium, which has serrated leaves, and Datura anoxia, which has smooth-edged leaves. All Datura species look alike and are hard to tell apart, as they have large funnel or trumpet-shaped flowers, big leaves, similar fruits, and they all contain toxic compounds. On the other hand, the Datura plant also resembles other plants. For example, it looks like a flower called shabtab, which is known as morning glory or nilafar page. Both of them have funnel or trumpet-shaped flowers. That's why, at first glance, they sometimes look alike. Also, Datura leaves resemble the leaves of okra or eggplant, unaware that Datura leaves are bitter and, of course, poisonous. This visual mistake can be dangerous, especially for people who don't have much experience identifying plants. So, right here, let's get more familiar with the exact physical characteristics of Datura. The leaves of this plant are 6 to 20 centimeters long, about 2 to 8 inches. Its flowers are quite beautiful. They're funnel-shaped and come in white or light purple, measuring about 6 to 9 centimeters, or 2.5 to 3.5 inches. Interestingly, these flowers bloom at night and are actually fragrant as well. The fruit of this plant is also spiky like a walnut and contains dozens of small seeds. Of course, each seed contains about 1/10 of a milligram of atropine, but 100 seeds add up to about 10 milligrams, which can be fatal. Now, let me tell you the reason behind some of the special names given to this plant. First of all, why is it called thorn apple? Don't get it wrong. This is just a nickname for the plant and has nothing to do with the hawthorn tree, which is also known by other names like hawthorns or crataegus. Actually, it's mostly called thorn apple because when its flower dries up, a spiky little pod appears, which is considered the fruit of this plant. This small pod is about the size of a walnut, but it can contain up to 100 seeds inside. So, if this plant grows in your garden, It's better to pull it out before it dries up and its seeds spread all over your garden. Now, why is it called Devil's Trumpet? Well, I need to say this again. Please don't confuse this particular name with another plant that is commonly called Angel's Trumpet. That one is indeed a distinctly different plant altogether, but they probably called this specific one Devil's Trumpet because the flower itself kind of visually looks like a trumpet. So, as we previously mentioned, this plant notably contains powerful compounds such as atropine and scopolamine. Therefore, consuming this poisonous plant can be dangerous because atropine causes dry mouth, sudden changes in skin temperature, reduced sweating, and respiratory stimulation. Scopolamine, when it enters the brain, can cause delayed thinking or hallucinations. More specifically, consuming the Datura plant leads to anticholinergic poisoning. That means the body kind of faces a shortage of neural brakes. It's important to know that some drugs or plants like Datura inhibit an important substance in the brain and body called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine acts like a brake for certain bodily functions. For example, it helps slow down the heart rate, increases saliva production, aids in digestion, and ensures proper brain function. Now, if this substance is inhibited, the body starts to become overactive. In short, if we mistake the Datura plant for an edible one and, for example, add it to our stew or brew tea with it, within 30 to 60 minutes we'll experience symptoms like dry mouth and intense thirst, fully dilated pupils, rapid or irregular heartbeat, seizures, coma, and even death. Of course, in small doses it just causes dry mouth, but in higher doses it can lead to death. Now, let's look at two real-life cases where people actually consumed this plant. According to a CDC journal report, 6 adult members of a family, including 3 men and 3 women aged between 38 and 80, were taken to the emergency department of a hospital in Maryland, USA, on the morning of July 9, 2008. In fact, when one of the relatives came home, they found the family members laughing, experiencing hallucinations, dizziness, thirst, aggression, restlessness, and disorganized speech. One of the members also vomited. That's why the healthy individual called emergency services, and all 6 people were taken to the hospital by ambulance. Further investigations showed that all 6 people had eaten a homemade stew, and this stew contained the Datura plant. You should know that quickly diagnosing this poisoning is difficult in most cases, because taking a history from patients with altered mental status and hallucinations is challenging. On top of that, its symptoms are also variable. In the end, the patient's conditions improved after being hospitalized, and 4 people were discharged on the 3rd day, 1 on the 4th day, and 1 on the 5th day. In fact, the person who had eaten the most stew recovered later than the others and had the longest hospital stay. But fortunately, all the patients made a full recovery. However, the second story was officially published in the esteemed journal Curious in the year 2023 in the United States. It tells the story of another family who suffered poisoning from Datura. According to this report, a family in New York State consisting of a 36-year-old pregnant Asian woman along with her daughter and husband accidentally made a homemade soup that contained the Datura plant. This led to symptoms such as vomiting, dry mouth, blurred vision, skin redness, breathing difficulties, and hallucinations. While the woman and her daughter recovered very quickly, her husband's severe hallucinations required special care. In the end, with proper medical attention, the woman's husband also gradually recovered. These incidents highlight the critical importance of accurately identifying plants, especially in homegrown products. In other words, such incidents are a bitter reminder of the potential dangers hidden in our everyday environments. Now, let's also take a look at the different perspectives that exist about the Datura plant. In ancient Indian rituals or among Native American tribes, Datura was used in spiritual ceremonies. But this plant carries the risk of deadly hallucinations. On the other hand, some people plant varieties of Datura like Metal and Noxia in their gardens for their beauty and biological aspects. But of course, they have to accept the risks of this and keep children and animals completely away from them. We know that if this plant is ingested, It can cause problems like irregular heartbeat, difficulty breathing, and even hallucinatory states. Of course, because of these hallucinogenic properties, some cultures have used it in their special ceremonies and rituals, sometimes even in connection with magic. But to be honest, I personally don't recommend getting close to this plant at all, because you really have to know exactly how to use it. By the way, I should mention that a lot of people mistake this plant for something else. Earlier in the video, I said that it looks a lot like many other plants, so it's really easy to get sick or, in the worst case, even die. Now, when I said using this plant, what exactly did I mean? Well, the Datura plant is used in medicine and pharmaceuticals. I mean, from a medicinal perspective, it also contains compounds like scopolamine and atropine, which are used in medical science. And of course, extracting and using these compounds definitely requires expertise. So once again, I emphasize that personal use is absolutely not recommended. What do you think? Have you ever seen this flower up close? Write your thoughts in the comments and share your experiences with this plant. In short, a plant's attractive and harmless appearance is no guarantee that the plant itself is harmless. Sometimes, danger comes close in the form of a beautiful flower without us realizing it. In these cases, the only way to stay safe is to have precise knowledge of the leaves, flowers, and seeds of dangerous plants. Break time equals 0.5s/. But now that you know this flower, the next time you're walking in your yard or garden and you see it, pull it out right away and don't let your kids or pets touch it, because danger is always lurking, and remember, prevention is always better than cure.